Okay, finding GST. Now, GST is goods and services tax. We here in Australia have a GST of 10%. Thank you, government, for leaving it at 10% for as long as you have. It's really easy to work out and it's reasonable. Now, GST, um, we actually in Australia also have it included in the price when you look at a price on the shelf. In other countries, America in particular, they don't necessarily have the tax included on there, which means you look at a price and that's the price pre-taxes. Now, the other thing is in Australia, all of our states have the 10% GST. Whereas in America, each state has a different amount of sales tax and goods and services taxes and value added taxes that are added on there. And so it can be very, very difficult to work out exactly how much it is. So sometimes in a shop, you have to go up and say, okay, here's the price. How much am I actually going to have to pay? And it's never what the price is on the ticket. In Australia, it is mandated by law that they have to have the GST, or they have to have the GST included. So the price on the ticket is the price you will actually pay. Now, there are some items that are GST exempt. I remember when GST was first coming in, there was a lot of people that were upset because it was going to make products more expensive. It did actually lower our tax rate. It took sales taxes off a lot of things, so it actually balanced out pretty well. But a lot of people were really concerned about it, saying, oh, it's going to cost us more for food. However, there were a lot of items that were GST exempt, like fresh fruit and vegetables are GST exempt. And I think, I could be wrong here, but I think bread and or milk were also, because they were considered staples, they were GST exempt as well. I can't remember for certain. I could be completely wrong there. But yeah, so GST, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and it actually has worked out to be, not a bad system. Okay, so John bought a ticket with a pre-tax price of $142 to see a concert at the Sydney Olympic Stadium. He was also required to pay 10% GST. Now, like I said, in Australia, GST is already added on, but here we've got a price. Sometimes you have to work out what the price is pre-GST and all that sort of thing. So let's have a look. It says how much GST is payable. Well, GST is 10% of the amount. So he is paying $142, and we're going to times that by 10%, and that will give us our GST amount. And that will be $14.20 in GST. Question B, now this is the price that would appear on any website or any ticket. It will tell you the actual price that you're going to pay. That will be the $142 plus the $14.20, because you've got to add the cost of you've got your pre-GST plus your GST. Will give you the actual price. And in this case, that will be $156.20. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. Now, question C. Now, this is something we do actually do more often, because we're normally given the price with the GST inclusive price. Sometimes we have to find what we call the ex-GST price, or GST exclusive, so excluding GST. So with pre-tax price of a ticket, if the final price was $149.60. Now, we know that to get that price, you have the price of the ticket, so let's call it ticket, plus the GST. Okay. We also know that the ticket is 100% of the ticket cost. Fair enough. And the GST is 10% of the ticket cost. So the actual GST inclusive price is 110% of the ticket cost. So all we have to do is divide this one by 110%. Now, you could divide it by 1.1, but we're going to divide it by 110%. And that will actually take off that extra 10%, and we will be left with $136. And that is the pre-GST price. And if you wanted to double check that, you could then go, well, what's 136 times 10%? It is 13.6. Add the 13.6 there, and I get $149.60. There you go.